This is about those days when I was studying in ninth grade. Then I was 14 years old. Lived with my family for some time. I had my parents and my younger sister in my family. My father used to do a government job, so we had to live in government quarters. When my father was promoted, we took a big flat in that colony. After that, we shifted to the new flat. I was very happy as I was thinking that I will get my own separate room. I don't know why, from the day we went to live in that house, I felt a strange uneasiness in that house. I used to sleep late in that house because our TV channel used to show a new movie every night. And my mother, father, and sister used to sleep early in the other room. Initially, everything was fine, but suddenly one night, when I was sitting on my bed watching a movie, suddenly I heard someone's voice from outside the room. I didn't pay attention, yes, but I turned down the TV volume a bit, but after 4 to 5 minutes the same sound started coming again. That sound is the sound of her anklets when a woman walks, as if the sound of chan 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 was coming exactly like this. I turned off the sound of the TV completely, but the same sound was coming from outside chan chan chan. Hearing this voice, my body started trembling and my hair stood on end. The sound was coming, and it was heard for 4 to 5 seconds. After that it stopped. Later, after 3 to 4 minutes, it started again. As if someone is walking wearing heavy anklets. My heart has started beating loudly. It seemed as if my heart would be taken out of my chest and come into my mouth. I was not able to know what to do. I thought that I should pick up my parents and tell them everything. Later, when I opened the door with courage, suddenly the same sound was heard, chan chan chan. At that time, the same voice was coming from right in front of me. It seemed as if a newly married woman was walking towards me. But only the sound was coming. No one was visible in front, and the sound was also heard very clearly. I woke up my parents and told them the whole truth. My father was not all ready to accept this. Anyway, they were all sound asleep. No one paid attention to me. Later, I slept with my parents in their room. After 3 to 4 days like this, one night again, the same sound was heard, chan chan chan. Later, I got used to that voice. There was no fixed time for the voice to come. Sometimes it used to come at 10 o'clock or even at 10:30. But one thing was sure, that only I could hear that voice. Was having, and no one else. Sometimes I used to be very scared of that voice. But our shortcoming was never to spoil anything. After 8 to 9 months, we got a new flat and shifted there. The new people who came to stay at our place in the same flat were people we knew. Their son was my best friend, and their family was big. One day, that uncle came to our house and asked us if you were hearing any sound sometimes. Just hearing this, I was quite sure that it was not my imagination. The whole family of that uncle had heard the same sound. At last, my parents were convinced that I was not lying. We tried to find out what had happened in the house. Then it came to know that not 1 but 6 souls were living in that house. It's been 14 years since then, and now I have grown up. I do not know whether the same voice is heard today or not. But even today, when I think about that voice, a strange fear starts in my mind. The house had been empty for years, its windows boarded up, and its walls covered in ivy. It had always been a source of curiosity for the locals, who whispered about its dark history and the strange occurrences that had taken place there. But no one dared to enter the house, for fear of awakening something that should have been left sleeping. But one day, a family moved into the house, hoping to start a new life in a peaceful setting. They were thrilled to have found such a beautiful home, with its spacious rooms and its lush garden. But soon, they realized that something was wrong. The first sign of trouble was the cold spots that they felt in certain parts of the house. Even on the warmest of days, there were areas where the temperature dropped dramatically, leaving the family shivering with cold. Then, they began to hear strange noises coming from the walls. It sounded like someone was knocking on the door, but when they went to answer it, there was no one there. They tried to ignore it, thinking it might just be the old house settling, but the sounds continued, growing louder and more persistent. Things took a turn for the worse when they started to see strange apparitions in the house. They saw shadowy figures moving through the rooms and heard disembodied voices whispering in their ears. The family tried to convince themselves that it was just their imagination, but they knew deep down that something was not right. As the days turned into weeks, the family became increasingly terrified. They felt like they were being watched, and that something malevolent was lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. They tried to leave the house, but found that they were trapped inside, with no way out. Finally, one night, the family decided to perform a cleansing ritual to rid the house of the evil that had taken hold. But as they lit candles and chanted prayers, they felt a sudden gust of wind, and the candles flickered out. The family was plunged into darkness, and they knew that they were not alone. The next morning, the family was found dead, their bodies twisted and contorted in unnatural positions. The house remained empty once again, its dark secrets buried deep within its walls, waiting for the next unsuspecting family to enter its doors. It was a beautiful old house with a rich history, but as soon as the new family moved in, strange things began to happen. At first, it was just small things. Doors that would open and close on their own, and objects that would move by themselves. But as time went on, the incidents became more frequent and more terrifying. The family would hear footsteps coming from empty rooms and strange whispers that they couldn't explain. They would wake up in the middle of the night to find their belongings scattered around the house, as if someone had been searching for something. But the most terrifying part was the figure that appeared at the top of the stairs. It was a shadowy figure that seemed to materialize out of thin air, always standing at the same spot at the top of the stairs. The family tried to ignore it, thinking it might just be their imagination, but it was always there, watching them with its cold, unblinking eyes. As the days went on, the family grew more and more fearful, and they started to feel like they were being watched all the time. They tried to leave the house, but the doors and windows wouldn't budge. It was as if the house itself was trying to keep them trapped inside. Finally, one night, they decided to confront the entity at the top of the stairs. They gathered all their courage and slowly made their way up the stairs, ready to face whatever was waiting for them. But when they reached the top, there was nothing there. The figure had disappeared, leaving behind only an eerie silence. The family breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that maybe it was all over. But they were wrong. The figure returned, more menacing than ever. It would appear in their dreams, whispering secrets that only they could hear. It would follow them wherever they went, always watching and waiting. In the end, the family had no choice but to leave the house, and they never spoke of the horrors they had experienced there again. But the house remained, standing silently, waiting for its next victims to move in and unleash the terror that lay hidden within its walls.